Hey, yo, look! Stonewall's back. For those wondering where I have been, if you guys haven't kept up on Facebook or any social media, essentially put, a while back, a month ago, my computer decided to up and die. What apparently happened with it was static shock. And yes, I do have a surge protector. So, the only culprit is that somebody touched it while they were staticky. And it was probably me or the dogs. Likely me when I was cleaning the thing out, or yeah, I don't know, carpet, I guess. It's on a giant wooden platform, so it's not, sitting directly on the carpet. So I don't know what the hell happened. Either way, the motherboard died, the CPU died, and the graphics card died too, and I thought that one would have been safe. The RAM made it, but the RAM, it's too old, so. Basically put, I had to essentially rebuild an entire computer. Some of the parts, top of the line apparently, and all the other parts are basically junkyard stuff. I don't know all the specifics of what they are. I basically asked my friends and some fans to help me build the thing. We went with a Ryzen for a CPU, and I don't even know what number for that, but apparently it's really good, so you guys can see hopefully an improvement in the video quality, especially with the whole frame rate and that kind of stuff. And definitely the streaming has improved. I can actually play some video games now without, being sad. The graphics card, a little bit of an improvement. I used to have a GTX 670, and now it's I think 790. I don't know. Not the biggest jump to a modern thing, but it's a jump. A good RAM, and the rest of the stuff is pretty much the same thing. I mean, the new motherboard and all that other good stuff. So power supply, all the other things survived. So hooray, I didn't have to completely destroy the bank account or whatever remains of it. So now, yes, I'm back. And the reason it took so long was essentially that I kind of had to sell some things to try to build the computer. And then obviously I'm grateful that some fans were able to help as well, so thank you to their assistance. But yeah. I've tried keeping up with some things of League, but if you're not playing League, you sort of get lost and you can't really form opinions on a lot of things. But now I have been able to play a few games on it, and on the new season, and I can tell you some of my opinions. Some of the opinions I had prior to the season are basically, how would you say, they're unchanged. I had them before, and I knew what was going to happen, because anyone who's ever played League of Legends knows these things were going to happen. Before they were released, I talked about how, or I didn't make a video about it, but on the social medias I did, how the new rune system, a lot of people are overblowing it and they're not seeing that it's going to be the same crap as before. Namely, while it is good that they are changing the things because it gives more accessibility, you don't have to spend IP on runes anymore, it is pretty lackluster. Think of it this way. No matter what, no matter how, fantastical it might be, or how much of a dreamer you are, it's unrealistic to assume that every single thing in it would be useful. Even the other keystones, prior to the season ending, a lot of them turned out to be basically mediocre and unused. A lot of them were unused. Maybe the occasional one champion used that one keystone, but more often than not, most of them were largely ignored, and it seems to be the case again. Now, it's sort of like in World of Warcraft where everyone was like, oh, the old talent trees were better. They were kind of pointless. Yes, you get a new level, but what, you can put 1% more on expertise? It's not really customization if everyone's just gonna go the most optimal build. You can say, well, I like to take these crazy builds. Yeah, more power to you, but you are really gonna be playing a worse version of the champion you're intending to play. Maybe some champions, usually the really hybrid-y champions or the ones with multiple scalings, can do better with more than a couple, but as we've already seen, there's some keystones that are already really strong, so everyone's going to abuse them, and those who can abuse them are better. Or two, most champions are probably only going to be able to maximize the usage of one keystone, and there are some champions who don't maximize any. And we've already seen the, that Riot needs to buff them. I think it was on the forums, everyone's bragging on the fact that fighters kind of got screwed. Like, I read some post about Lucian being absolutely unplayable with the new Keystones. I might be wrong about that. This is just reading, but I haven't seen any Lucians, so it might be accurate. And how basically a lot of champions are just taking Press the Attack or Electrocute. And then Mage is only taking one of them, and then that one got nerfed, and there's another taking the other one. And then Aftershock on everybody who can take it. And we're seeing that there's one keystone everyone abuses, or every champion sort of gets stuck on a keystone, or in the special case of one type of champion, there's a certain keystone that only a very few amount of champions can abuse, but they abuse it a shitload. So you have the dilemma of, do we nerf this champion, or do we nerf the keystone, making it absolutely garbage and, you know, somehow compensate this champion somehow? I think that was the whole case with Kleptomancy, where a few champions can abuse it to an extreme level. So it's really strong on them, but pretty much not really useful in comparison to other keystones to other champions. So we got that situation. And the thing is, a lot of people will say, well, Stonewall, it's all for fun and whatnot. Yes, I understand, and to be honest, some of them are kind of nifty. Like, I like Press the Attack on characters that I use, or Electrocute, but to be honest, it's sort of inevitable that balance issues are going to arise from this. Let me explain it this way. You all know what power budget is, but for those who don't, it's essentially a power budget, I guess, that a champion gets to have for all their abilities, stats, and everything spread across. You know, how much power are we going to give to this ability, and how much power are we going to take away from another area to create sort of strengths and weaknesses for a champion. And the thing about keystones is that they sort of become very integral to a champion. And by doing so, by basically being like, this is the only keystone this champion can even take, it basically means that you gotta start assuming the power budget is going to be given or changed about because of this keystone. And some of you go, no, they won't do that. They totally have before. Champions have been nerfed because of keystones. And we're seeing it already with a few of them. So yeah, like, think of it this way. One of the good examples of this is the old rune system, where people had armor. You know, attack speed, some of it got compensated, I guess, and armor did also get compensated on some champions, but not on every champion. On some of them, mostly mages, they didn't get anything. So we're seeing situations where they just kind of immediately die if they're even tickled by Zed. Right now, if you're a champion who can sort of push and back away, or, you know, fight at a distance and harass, you're okay. But if you're any other kind of mage who has to sort of, you know, inch their way forward, a Zed will probably eviscerate you, or something like that. Basically, armor runes became so universal to champions. Yeah, some of them had the occasional health runes, but, you know, armor runes were basically, everyone had to take them. It basically became an assumption that that armor was part of your kit, part of your stats from the get-go. Always assume that's what your champion was going to have. Every new champion or every rework just sort of assume that you don't have to give this champion this amount of armor. Someone's going to slap it onto them already. So now that that was taken away, we're seeing a huge balance discrepancy between certain types of champions. And, you know, to be fair, this is something that can be fixed. And either they'll nerf the champions who deal too much damage for the champions having no armor, although the most likely thing is give a lot of champions a bit of an armor boost, right? Yeah, but it sort of still kind of reinforces what I'm saying. Keystones or masteries or whatever they're called now, essentially put, they cause this power budget to kind of go awry, alright? Anyhow, bragging on the keystones aside, I do have to give credit to the secondary runes or whatever they're called. Those actually have diversity. You don't exactly, you know, change very many of them. There's some that you could argue, you know, you could take it depending on the matchup, but most of them you end up having slight differences between champions. You know, does your champion prefer attack speed? You take slight attack speed ones, or you take the ones with more tenacity, that kind of stuff. Those are tiny. Like, about a little bit more than half of them are pretty good. I think most of the red ones, Domination I think it's called, are pretty good. And then Resolve ones are pretty sad. A lot of them, yeah, there's a mishmash between, you know, good ones, usable ones, flexible ones, and then hot streaming garbage. The ones that are hot streaming garbage are dream scenario ones that, you know, like, essentially everything falls in place, and in this very specific situation, it's really good. And it's not even a champion selecting where you can sort of have all the things all fall in place. It's sort of, you take this thing in the hopes that in the game itself something happens and you get to actually make use of this little rune. Those are hot garbage. No one should ever take those. And then the other ones are more static, like the magic bubble when you're about to get nuked by a nuclear Vagar blast or something. These are actually pretty good, and you know the thing about them is that they're more benign. They're not like ridiculous, you know, oh, there's an extreme amount of damage in one burst, or triple attack burst kind of thing, or any aftershock. They're like, we give you a specific kind of, you know, reward system, or like a special little tiny thing that happens in this very likely scenario, and hooray for you. And you can change them up depending on who you're fighting. So, yay, secondary runes. I actually like those. You know, it's kind of annoying having to change the very minute ones for specific champions, but whatever. You know, I've changed my runes and masteries before every single fight or every single game, so this shouldn't be that difficult. It's just the keystones I don't particularly am fond of. Those don't really offer you very much versatility in any kind of case for most champions. Just the secondary ones. So, overall, this is kind of a necessary evil, and a lot of people sort of overhyped themselves for it. We were going to head over to the same kind of static stuff that we have every single time, but whatever. Again, it's mostly kind of annoying that, you know, it was very obviously going to cause a lot of problems, and a lot of people are freaking out like, oh my god, no. You should expect that there was going to be oversight in a lot of places, and hopefully most of it is fixed in the proper way. Some of the champions I like to play are in the absolute dumpster right now, so hopefully we don't have another season where some of them sort of doesn't have anything to build. So, hey, either way though, I'm back. Watch my streams and stuff. Most of the footage in the background, one of the games was from this season, the other one was from another one. Whatever the case. Hopefully you all are here to stick around, and thank you for all the support you guys given me, especially those who helped me rebuild my computer. Thank you a lot. I really was struggling to build this damn thing, so hooray.